Summary of Unbound written by Christy Healy. Chapter 1. On the night before her wedding, the air in Rosalind's chambers hung heavy with the weight of expectation and tradition. The elaborate red and gold bridal gown, a creation fit for royalty, adorned her like a cage, constraining her desires and dreams within its embroidered finery. Rosalind, a princess on the precipice of a fateful union, gazed at her reflection in the silver-coated mirror with a mix of resentment and resignation. She had envisioned herself in a different gown, one of simple elegance and night-black grace, loose, flowing sleeves, devoid of adornments or trappings, a gown fit for a funeral rather than a celebration of love. Rosalind had made her preference clear when Moira, a maid with eyes cast low, brought the dress to her chambers that morning. The very notion of the black gown had sent shudders through Moira, and with trepidation, she conveyed the king's decree. "This is the gown that the king, your father, has himself requested for this day," Moira whispered, tucking her chin against her chest. Her eyes remained fixed on the floor, and her fingers were curled into anxious fists. "He wishes for you to seem resplendent, triumphant." A cascade of gray-haired seamstresses, bent over their spindles and whorls, had tirelessly woven the elaborate red and gold gown by the flickering light of the fire. Rosalind could almost envision them, working feverishly with weary fingers and hopeful faces, hoping that this creation would finally end the curse that had plagued their land for 21 long years. 21 years, Rosalind muttered, catching a reflection of the gown in the mirror. It lay on her bed, a testament to her compliance, with the faint gleam of golden threads taunting her. A long time, indeed. Moira bowed her head in response, her pale fingers trembling against the fabric of her skirt. Despite her initial resistance, Rosalind relented, resigned to the reality that her father's wishes held greater weight than her personal desires. The gown would be red, a color symbolizing guilt, shame, and blood. As Rosalind stood in her moonlit chamber, the crimson-gold monstrosity of a dress weighing heavily on her shoulders, her gaze wandered to a wooden box on the table. It remained unopened, a mysterious gift from the man she was to marry on the morrow. The curiosity gnawed at her, and with a steady yet ice-cold hand, she lifted the lid. Nestled within the downy feathers that cushioned the box, a faint glint of gold caught her eye. Her fingers delicately retrieved a tiara, a finely welded creation with slim strands woven closely together, adorned with deep red gems. At its zenith, a single rose, meticulously crafted from the shavings of burnt gold leaves, stood as a testament to the craftsmanship. A gift from her soon-to-be husband, a gesture of love on the night before their union. Rosalind shuddered at the sight of the tiara, its beauty in stark contrast to the turmoil within her. The conflicting emotions surged through her as she placed it atop her black, unbraided hair. The juxtaposition of the crimson gown and the golden tiara on her dark locks heightened the internal struggle she faced. The people, she imagined, would react with awe as she descended the stairs on her wedding day, the golden threads of her robe and the rose of her crown glistening in the daylight. Whispers would fill the air, hailing her as the one to break the curse that had tormented the land for over 2 decades. The masses, who hadn't seen her face since the day her father had confined her to the tower, would murmur in relief and joy at the end of their prolonged suffering. Yet, Rosalind also anticipated the unspoken judgments that would accompany these celebrations. As she practiced a smile in the mirror, the corners of her mouth curling, she foresaw the murmurs. Why isn't she smiling? She would look much prettier if she smiled. In the dimly lit reflection, Rosalind observed her own attempt at conformity. Her teeth glinted in the firelight, her fangs bared beneath rose-red lips in a snarl. She chuckled, realizing that even in trying to conform, she remained an enigma, a beauty with a hint of ferocity. As the night progressed, the weight of the gown became increasingly unbearable for Rosalind. The whispers of the people, the expectations of her father, the impending union, they all coalesced into a heavy burden. She turned away from the mirror, the gown dragging on the wooden floor behind her, and sought refuge on her bed. The tiara dug into the back of her skull, scraping at her skin, but she made no move to remove it. In the gloom of her tower, Rosalind watched the moonlight play across the thick oak beams of the ceiling. With a grace born from years of practice, she extended her finger, and the moonshine responded. Fluid shapes danced across the wooden timbers, dragonflies flitting through reeds, silvery horses with free-flowing manes, and falcons soaring through tempest winds. They were the ethereal companions she had conjured over the years, the result of her intimate connection with the moonlight. As she lay on her back, hands twisting in the crimson-stained fabric of her gown, she watched the moonlit dancers glide above her. These starlit creations, born from her imagination, were more than mere illusions. They were manifestations of grace and light, companions that had shared her solitude and brought beauty to her secluded existence. With an ease that spoke of practiced familiarity, Rosalind lifted her finger, guiding the moonshine to shift and transform. The shapes evolved, dragonflies transformed into silvery horses, which, in turn, became falcons. Vague half-formed memories intertwined with the fluid dance above her, reminiscent of forgotten dreams. In the deep quiet of the night, Rosalind realized it was time to bid farewell to these companions. Silent tears rolled down her face as she whispered her goodbyes to the moonlit dancers. They had been constant in her life, sources of solace and beauty, but their time had come to an end. As they danced in the moonlight for the final time, Rosalind felt a profound sense of loss, a farewell to a part of herself she had nurtured and cherished. The night before her wedding, alone in the sanctuary of her tower, Rosalind grappled with the complexities of her impending union. The crimson gown and golden tiara symbolized sacrifice, not just of personal desires, but of a deeper connection with the moonlit realm she had inhabited for so long. As the shadows whispered secrets and the moon watched over her, Rosalind contemplated the sacrifices demanded by love, duty, and destiny. The night held a poignant beauty, a blend of moonlight and tears, as a princess prepared to embrace a new chapter, leaving behind the moonlit dancers that had adorned her solitude. Chapter 2. Jamie's heart pounded in his chest as he sprinted towards the open doorway, his mind racing to make sense of the surreal and perilous situation he found himself in. Behind him, the Lupin figures, once wolves, now part of Rosie's unholy transformation, snarled and lunged, their eyes glowing with an eerie blue fire. The great hall, once a place of regal beauty, now resembled a nightmarish battleground. Trees with gnarled branches and twisted roots sprouted from the wooden floor, a grotesque forest growing within the confines of the castle walls. Jamie's breath came in ragged gasps as he dodged the snapping jaws of the pursuing wolves, his every instinct urging him to escape the clutches of the vengeful woman who had once been his wife. Rosie, now a monstrous hybrid of human and beast, watched with an unsettling calmness as Jamie darted towards the exit. Her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, the color of stormy seas, reflecting an inner turmoil. The wings on her back unfolded, casting ominous shadows across the hall, and her voice rumbled like distant thunder as she spoke. "You cannot escape, Jamie," she said, her words carrying a weight that reverberated through the air. "You brought this upon yourself, and now you shall face the consequences." The wolves circled, closing in on Jamie from all sides. He knew he couldn't outrun them forever, and desperation fueled his thoughts. As he approached the door, he spotted a narrow walkway to his left, leading to a set of steps. Without hesitation, he changed direction, hoping to find refuge in the upper corridors of the castle. The stairs echoed with the hurried beat of his boots as Jamie ascended, the wolves following relentlessly. He stole a glance downward and saw Rosie, now airborne with her monstrous wings, ascending gracefully. Panic tightened its grip on him, and he pushed himself harder, his mind searching for a plan, an escape route. Reaching the upper walkway, Jamie raced along the dimly lit corridor, his surroundings shrouded in shadows. He could still hear the wolves' snarls echoing behind him, growing louder with each passing moment. As he turned a corner, he stumbled upon a door slightly ajar. Without hesitation, he barged into the room, slamming the door shut and barricading it with a heavy wooden table. The room was dimly lit by a flickering candle, revealing shelves lined with dusty tomes and mystical artifacts. Jamie's eyes widened as he took in the surroundings. It was clearly a chamber dedicated to the practice of magic. In the center of the room stood an ancient-looking mirror, its surface reflecting a distorted version of Jamie's terrified expression. He caught his breath, realizing the gravity of the situation. Rosie, with her newfound powers, could breach any defense he attempted. He needed to find a way to reason with her, to unveil the truths buried beneath years of resentment. As Jamie pondered his next move, the door rattled under the force of the wolves' attempts to break through. The wolves' growls and Rosie's guttural snarls echoed through the chamber. A voice, not Rosie's, but one that seemed to resonate from within the mirror itself, whispered to Jamie. The key to her heart lies in the past. Confront the memories that bind her, and perhaps you can break the chains of vengeance. With a mixture of determination and fear, Jamie approached the ancient mirror. His reflection shimmered, distorting as if the mirror itself held secrets of its own. As he stared into the reflective surface, memories flooded his mind, images of a younger Rosie, of stolen moments and shared dreams. The wolf's assault on the door intensified, but Jamie remained focused on the memories unfolding in the mirror. He saw Rosie as she once was, a girl burdened with a destiny she didn't choose, with powers that set her apart. He saw himself, a young man torn between love and ambition, unable to comprehend the consequences of his actions. In that reflective journey through time, Jamie glimpsed the pain that fueled Rosie's transformation. The mirror revealed the depth of her loneliness, the weight of expectations placed upon her shoulders, and the betrayal she felt at his hands. He understood that her monstrous form was a manifestation of the scars he had inflicted on her soul. As the wolves broke through the door, Jamie faced the mirror with newfound clarity. He whispered words of remorse, regret, and love, hoping they would transcend the enchanted barrier. The room quivered with magical energy, and the wolves hesitated, sensing a shift in the air. Rosie's voice, now softened and human, reached Jamie through the chaos. "What do you seek, Jamie? Why have you returned after all these years?" He met her eyes in the mirror, a connection bridging the gap between them. "I seek forgiveness, Rosie. I seek understanding. Let us confront the past together and find a path to redemption." The wolves, sensing the change in their mistress, retreated, leaving the room in an eerie silence. Rosie, still in her monstrous form, approached the mirror with uncertainty. The reflection showed a vulnerability she had long suppressed. As Jamie extended his hand towards the mirror, an ethereal glow enveloped them both. The enchanted chamber held the key to unraveling the past and forging a new future, a future where love triumphed over resentment, and the wounds of the past could finally begin to heal.